So, Diane, what was the most transformative gift you've received? From whom and how has it changed you?
Well, my transformative gift to date has been being my son's mother and all of the gifts that has brought to me.
Tell me about it.
My son is my only son, and he died of a heroin overdose at age 41.
And when did he pass, Diane?
He passed almost 6 years ago, May 20th. And the first year was very quiet. I was like a deer in the headlights thinking, holy crap, how am I ever going to live without being a mother? Right? Like my whole life, 41 years or longer, was devoted to that. So
I feel that deeply, Diane. I'm a mother.
yeah, it's a really big deal. So the 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 short story of it is that, well, I just feel called to just tell you this part.
Yeah.
When his body was cremated, his the funeral director actually brought him to me, which was amazing and unheard of. And so I opened the car door and they had him in a box in a canvas bag.
Mm.
And I signed the papers and I put him over my left shoulder and my arm under, over it. And I said to him, I never imagined carrying you this way. Right? Like just feeling that. Right? So about a month after my son passed from a heroin overdose, he had been strapped with addiction for about 15 years. So he and I rode that whole wave. A friend called and said, you need to call Tiffany Hicks. And I said, what? Why? Who is she? Don't worry about it. Just call her and get an appointment. So I did. I got this appointment with Tiffany. And when she picked the phone up, she said, do you have a son who just passed? And I said, yes. And she said, well, he's been waiting here for you for an hour and a half before this session. And all he's saying is, I just want to talk to my mom. I just want to talk to my mom.
Mm.
And I'm like, even just tingling, because he always used to say that, because there were times when he was so in his addiction that I wasn't in contact with him.
Mm.
So there was a lot of nurses and doctors calling me to say, your son is saying, I just want to talk to my mom. So I said, well, this must really be him. And then she said, he was saying, Mom, you're my rock. You've always been my rock. And he always said that. Now, this woman who I never met before, how could it be that she would tell me that?
And did she have was she psychic? Was
Psychic. She's a channel.
Okay.
So it was very interesting. He said, Mom, I know I really did push it with the heroin this time, but my body was such a jail to me. I just couldn't stay any longer. I know this is really hurtful to you, but it's not about you. And we did it. We did it. We had a soul contract. This was our soul contract. We had to have every single thing that we had, that we experienced together, was our soul contract. And we agreed to this before I was born. And I was just like,
I can't imagine.
Crying. I said, okay. Well, I'd never heard of soul contracts before. So he said, years ago, like centuries ago or whatever, he said, I was in another life captured and burned at Auschwitz. And he said, I had no control over how I died or how I lived in that last part of my life. So in this part of my life, I had to have that control. And it made sense because we were always butting heads. I thought he should be going this direction and he thought he should be going this way. And it was always like, no, he always won, right? Whether it was right or wrong.
Often can be the case with mothers and children.
So anyway, The amazing thing about him talking to me through Taffany was that I felt that it's very right. It's very absolutely true.
It lined up.
Like it lined up. I was tingling and crying and all kinds of things, as I am now, telling both of you the story. And then she said, "Do you have another child that passed?" I said, "No." And I went, "Oh, well, when I was young, I had an abortion." And she said, "Well, your daughter is here. And she and your son are holding hands and they're so happy to be together." And I'm like, "Are you kidding me right now?" She said, "No." And she said, "Your daughter is saying to you, 'It's okay, Mom. I knew that Rob needed all of your attention in this lifetime.'" Like, oh my gosh. Like, oh my gosh. Right? So,
Diane, what did that do? How did you feel making that connection, knowing that one, they were together, and two, that they were okay?
so peaceful, so grateful and peaceful to know that information. Right. And I've been continuing to work with Taffany for many years, 5, 6, almost 6 years, every few months or every quarter now. And about a year after my son Rob passed, I was sitting in meditation and I realized how grateful I was for the whole experience. And that I always thought, I'm his mother, I'm here for him. But guess what? He was here for me.
Tell me about that.
The fact, everything that he taught me unconditional love. He taught me courage. He taught me presence. He taught me how to say no, which I was not ever good at. He taught me laughter. He taught me what it feels like to love another person. And the blessing that I realized was that I'm so blessed to be his mother, even now. So blessed to have given birth to him. So blessed to have experienced his entire life, bad, good, indifferent, neutral, everything. To have found him dead on the bathroom floor of his apartment, to have waited for the coroner to come, to have waited for all of that process around the police and this and to going to the funeral home, to laying him to rest. And what a blessing. And what a blessing.
The gift.
The gift. And we were in Philadelphia at the time, and I had lived there about 20 years. And I came here during COVID, here to Montecito. And I had never been here. I'd been meditating, and all I kept hearing was, "You need nature, you need nature, you need nature." And I was here and I was standing at Butterfly Beach, and I looked up and I thought, why wouldn't I live where the sun comes up every day, in between the ocean and the mountains? Well, a few weeks later, I was packing to go back home, and I had met a real estate agent, and all of a sudden I got a call, and she said, "Diane, I know you were kind of looking for a place here. I know of one. Would you like to see it?" I said, "Well, I'm flying to Philly tomorrow, back to home." She said, "Well, you can see it in the morning." I said, "Okay." So I went with my Lyft driver and my luggage on the way to the airport to see this apartment on these people's estate. It's the little studio. And I loved the people and they loved me. And I said, "Well, I'd like to rent this place. I'll be back in about a month after I'm in quarantine and pack my things up." And they said, "Well, Diane, that doesn't sound very safe right now." And I said, "Could I move in today?" And they said, "Yes." So I never went back to Philadelphia.
Another gift.
Another gift.
Oh.
Like this amazing, amazing gift. and that my son is helping me every step of the way from the other side. And he has said to me many times, Mom, you took care of me. You taught me. You did everything. You devoted your life to me while I was on the planet. Now it's my turn.
Diane, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing your story with us.
Thank you
Thank you.
for being here.